Subscribe now if you are brave enough to keep watching. The first thing the police noticed was the phone. It was lying face up on the kitchen counter, still glowing, still unlocked, as if its owner had only stepped away for a moment. The screen showed a dating app profile smiling woman, dark hair, friendly eyes frozen mid-scroll. Next to it sat a half-finished cup of coffee, cold to the touch. No signs of a struggle, no broken glass, no blood, no note, just absence. By the time they reached the bedroom, the unease had already settled into the room like a bad smell. The bed was made too neatly. The closet door stood open, clothes untouched. Shoes lined up by the wall, except for one pair missing. The window was cracked open despite the winter air, the curtain gently pulled in as if someone had just passed through. The man who lived there, Evan Miller, age 32, was gone. No one had seen him leave. No neighbors reported noise. No cameras caught him walking out of the building. His car was still parked outside, snow undisturbed around the tires. According to his phone records, the last message he sent was 3 words long. "I'm here now." That was 12 hours ago, and no one could explain who he was talking to. 2 weeks earlier, Evan hadn't been afraid of anything. He was the kind of guy people described as cautious but not paranoid. Worked in UX design. Lived alone in a quiet apartment complex just outside the city. He liked routines, morning coffee, evening gym sessions, late-night podcasts. Dating hadn't been great for him lately, but it hadn't been disastrous either. Mostly first dates that didn't go anywhere. Polite goodbyes. Mutual fades. That changed the night he matched with a woman named Claire. Her profile didn't scream perfection. No luxury vacations. No filtered selfies. Just a simple photoshoot sitting on a balcony at sunset. Her hiking in boots too big for her. Or her feet. A candid shot laughing at a table surrounded by half-empty wine glasses. Her bio was short, almost boring. "I like quiet places, honest conversations, and people who don't pretend." Evan liked that. They talked for hours that first night, not flirting right away, actual conversation, books, childhood memories. The strange loneliness of scrolling through people like products. Claire asked thoughtful questions. She remembered details. She didn't rush anything. When Evan suggested meeting up, she didn't say yes immediately. "Maybe soon," she wrote. "I like to know who I'm talking to first." That should have felt normal. Instead, Evan felt oddly relieved. Over the next week, they talked every day, sometimes late into the night. Claire never sent voice notes, never called. When Evan suggested a quick FaceTime, she apologized and said she wasn't comfortable on camera yet. She'd had a bad experience before. Evan didn't push. One night, she asked him something strange. "Do you ever feel like some moments in your life are rehearsed?" He laughed it off, assuming it was late-night philosophy. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Like certain things are meant to happen," she replied, "and if you don't follow the script, something bad happens instead." Evan typed, deleted, then typed again. That sounds ominous. She sent a smiling emoji, just a thought. After that, the messages started to change. Not in an obvious way, just heavier. Claire asked where Evan worked, what time he usually got home, whether his apartment building had security cameras, whether he lived alone. He told himself she was just being cautious. A woman dating online had every right to ask questions. Still, he noticed something else. Whenever Evan mentioned meeting in public, Claire hesitated. She'd suggest quieter places, less crowded cafes, odd hours. Once, she suggested his apartment instead, just to know. Talk somewhere safe. Evan said no. She didn't argue. She just went quiet for the rest of the night. The next morning she apologized, said she'd overstepped, said she understood boundaries, and then she sent him an address. "I know this is sudden," she wrote, "but if we're ever going to meet, it should be tonight." The location was less than 10 minutes from his apartment. A small neighborhood Evan knew well, safe, boring, forgettable. He hesitated. Something about the timing felt wrong, but Claire was warm again, reassuring, almost vulnerable. "I don't want to disappear," she added. "I've done that before. I don't want to do it again." At 8:47 p.m., Evan put on his jacket. At 8:58, he texted her, "I'm on my way." The address led him to a narrow street lined with identical townhouses. Most of the lights were off. No cars parked out front. No sound except the wind moving through bare trees. Evan double-checked the number. It was right. He messaged Claire again. "I'm here." 3 dots appeared instantly. "Good," she replied. "Come inside." Evan frowned. The door in front of him was already unlocked. That's when his phone buzzed. Not a message, but a notification. Location access enabled. He didn't remember agreeing to that. Before he could react, another message came through. "I can see you now." Evan turned around. The street was empty. His phone vibrated one last time. You should have followed the script. And somewhere behind him, a door closed softly. If you're still watching, you're already too deep. Evan woke up on the floor. For a few seconds, he didn't understand where he was or why his body felt heavy, like gravity had doubled overnight. His cheek pressed against cold concrete, the kind that leaches warmth straight out of your skin. His wrists ached. When he tried to move them, metal scraped softly, and panic rushed in all at once. Zip ties, thick, industrial ones, biting into his skin. The room was dark, but not completely. A single exposed bulb hung from the ceiling, casting a weak yellow glow that barely reached the corners. The air smelled stale dust, old wood, something faintly chemical. There were no windows, no furniture, just him, the bulb, and a door on the far wall. Memory came back in fragments. The unlocked door, the message, the feeling of being watched. Evan's breathing turned shallow. He forced himself to slow down, to think. This wasn't a nightmare. The pain in his wrists was real. The cold was real. Whatever this was, it had already crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. The door opened without a sound. A woman stepped inside. For a moment, Evan's brain tried to protect him by pretending this was Claire. Same height, same hair color, same general shape. But when she moved closer, the illusion collapsed. Her face was wrong, not monstrous, not scarred, just unfamiliar. Ordinary in a way that didn't match the person he thought he knew. Her eyes were sharp, observant, devoid of warmth. She wore plainclothes jeans, a dark sweater, shoes that made no noise on the floor. She looked at him the way someone looks at a project. "You shouldn't have come alone," she said calmly. Evan tried to speak. His throat was dry, his voice barely worked. "You're not Claire." She tilted her head slightly, considering. "No. But you knew that already. You just didn't want to admit it. Why am I here?" "He has," Evan answered, because the silence between questions felt worse than the answers. Each time, the man left without comment. When the woman returned, her demeanor had shifted. She seemed pleased. "You're doing well," she told him. "Most people don't." "Doing well at what?" Evan demanded. She ignored the question. Instead, she placed a phone on the floor in front of him. His phone, unlocked. The screen showed footage from earlier that night. Evan standing outside his apartment building. Evan walking down the street. Evan entering the townhouse. The footage wasn't from security cameras. The angles were wrong. Too close, too personal. "You've been watching me," Evan whispered. "Yes," she said. "And others." She swiped the screen. More videos appeared. Different people, different places, same pattern. Dating profiles, messages, meetings that never happened. Some of them didn't cooperate, she added casually. Evan felt sick. Where are they? She looked at him for a long moment. Not everyone makes it to the next stage. "What stage is this?" he asked. She smiled again, wider this time. "The evaluation." The light went out. When it came back on, Evan wasn't alone. A second person sat on the floor across from him. A woman, younger than him. Her hands were shaking. Tears streaked down her face. She looked at Evan like he was the only solid thing in the room. "They said you'd help me," she whispered. Evan's throat tightened. "Who said that?" "Claire," she replied. Evan closed his eyes. Somewhere above them, the camera blinked red, and a voice came through the speaker, calm and familiar. "Let's see what you do next. If you've made it this far, don't assume you're safe." Evan understood the truth the moment the door stayed closed. They weren't going to rescue him. They were watching to see what he would do with someone else's life in his hands. The woman across from him, her name was Lily. She whispered it like it might disappear, couldn't stop shaking. She had been lured the same way he was. A kind profile, slow conversations, gentle boundaries, the illusion of choice. She'd been brought here less than an hour ago, blindfolded, disoriented, promised that someone inside would help her. That someone was Evan. The speaker crackled again. "Rules are simple," the woman's voice said, calm, controlled. Claire's voice, or the version of it she'd built. "Only one of you leaves this room." Lily's breath hitched. "What?" Evan felt his stomach drop. "No, that's not happening." Silence followed, not disagreement. Expectation. "You're not prisoners," the voice continued. "You're participants. Every decision you make is your own." The light above them brightened slightly. On the far wall, a screen flickered on. A countdown appeared. 2 hours. Evan shook his head. "This is sick." "Yes," the voice agreed. "But it's honest." The screen split into 4 panels. In one, Evan's apartment hallway, empty. In another, Lily's childhood home, her parents' car parked out front. The third showed a small office space, Evan's workplace. Lights still on. Someone moving inside. The fourth was blank. "If the timer reaches 0, the voice said, we choose." Lily sobbed quietly. "Choose what?" The man's voice joined in now, low and amused. "Who disappears cleanly?" Evan's mind raced. There had to be a trick, a test, something they wanted him to notice. He looked around the room, scanning corners, seams, shadows. Then he saw it. The zip ties on his wrists were newer than the ones on Lily's. Hers were already through. In the darkness, something shattered. Glass, a monitor, the sound of metal hitting concrete. Evan heard the man swear, then a different sound. Sirens, distant at first, then closer. The woman shouted something Evan couldn't hear. Lily's grip found his arm. "They're here," she whispered. "They're really here." Floodlights burst through the room as the door was torn open. Voices, orders, chaos. When Evan looked up again, the woman was gone. The man was on the floor, face pressed into concrete, hands cuffed behind his back. Police filled the room. It was over. They never found her. No fingerprints, no real name. The dating profiles vanished within minutes. The footage servers wiped clean. The townhouse wasn't owned, just rented under a shell company that dissolved overnight. Evan and Lily were labeled victims of an unusual criminal operation. Psychological exploitation, coercion, experimental manipulation, no cult, no network, no explanation that made it make sense. Evan moved 3 months later, new city, new number, no dating apps. Sometimes late at night he still checks his locks twice, still covers his webcam, still feels watched when his phone buzzes unexpectedly. Lily sends him a message once a year. Just 2 words, still here. He always replies, "So am I." But there's one thing Evan never told the police. In the hospital, while waiting to be discharged, his phone vibrated. No notification, just text. Unknown number. You passed the evaluation. He deleted it immediately. But sometimes when he's alone, he wonders what would have happened if he hadn't, and whether passing was really winning at all. If this story stayed with you, the next one won't let you sleep. Subscribe if you dare.